do have a live connection. We are now live on YouTube, everyone. We do have some guests, some hellos from old friends, and of course, immediately I would love to see any of our audience on YouTube using the chat facility to get in touch, leave messages, and wish all our colleagues well. I will begin this evening's festivities, as it were. And the format of the evening will be that I will introduce myself. My name is Alan Holligan. I'm one of the lecturers on the HND Contemporary Art Practice course at Edinburgh College. And I will briefly introduce Jenny, who will wave because everybody can see all of us at the moment. And Jenny and I will be co-hosting this evening's event. I will be welcoming everybody and introducing our guests this evening. Jenny will be introducing the website and the artists, and hopefully talking to one or two of the artists throughout the evening. So, first of all, obviously, I would like to wish you all a very warm welcome to CAP-oot, the HND 2021 Graduate Showcase. Thank you all so much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure to have colleagues, artists, guests, and you, our audience, with us this evening. A year ago to the day, I was sitting in my kitchen, given what I'd hoped would be the one and only virtual introduction to a CAP grad show. Now, sadly, in that year, the only thing that has changed in that regard, there have been many changes this year, is that I'm now, having travelled down the yellow brick road through the garden, I'm now sitting in our illustrious studio at the bottom of the garden. So welcome to the studio. As I was preparing for tonight, I was, of course, reflecting on the numerous difficulties we have encountered delivering a contemporary art course exclusively online since March 2020. I have not seen Jenny or any of our graduating artists and most of our guests in the flesh for over a year. And it's been incredibly difficult, of course. And there have been numerous difficulties delivering the course. And I think it's only natural to immediately think of the negative experiences. I think we all do that. We immediately go to the kind of negative experiences that we have. And very rarely do we immediately think of the positives. And we think about what could have gone much better. My immediate thoughts today, when I was reflecting on it, were about my first attempts on delivering a drawing and a sculpture class online to our CAP-1 artists. And I can't think of a much more stressful teaching experience that I've had than trying to live broadcast a lesson using multiple devices to a screen full of eager artists hungry to get stuck into their first homemade clay modelling class. However, somehow, and I suspect down to the eagerness and hunger and the talent of the artist, the work that was produced was terrific. But it's not a situation I was eager to repeat. However, tonight I'm sitting 1, 2, 3, 4 screens all going at once, and I'm frantically pushing buttons, moving mice, touching screens, checking chat, hoping everything's working. And so I feel, if you hadn't already guessed from my earlier allusion to the path I took down the garden, feeling very much like the Wizard of Oz. And I am quite literally, because of the sun, sitting behind a curtain, pushing all these buttons and trying to be as professional as possible in my den of smoke and mirrors. Fingers crossed, everyone. I think I can speak for Jenny also in saying that we could never claim to be wizards of any sort. But I also think she would agree that the graduating artists of 2021 have shared all the characteristics of the heroes of the film. All our graduating artists have shown tremendous heart, courage, and of course the intellect to deal with everything that's been thrown at them over the year. We've been absolutely astounded by how everybody has responded, and we couldn't be more proud of this group of graduating artists who've had everything thrown at them through a screen and have had to put up with no studio time at all for the last 14 months. Yet I've produced portfolios of work that have seen them get places in the highest standard of art schools in the country. Glasgow School of Art, Edinburgh College of Art, Dundee, Grays, Cumbria, and some of our first year students have gained places in London at Central St Martin's, for example. So it's a real testimony to the dedication and the drive that this group have had, and their first year colleagues, to get through the last year in the most difficult of circumstances. So we are, obviously, as I've said, incredibly proud of them, and we wish them luck, nothing but the best for their futures, no matter where they're going. I'll come back to things throughout the course of the evening and probably heap more praise on lots of people. But in the meantime, I'd like to introduce our first guest speaker, who's going to officially open the event this evening, Neil Nodzak. So if I can ask Neil to unmute himself, and I'll just say a few brief words of introduction about Neil. Neil is an artist, printmaker, learning technologist and lecturer. He makes illustrations, prints, zines and comics, exploring his confessions, intrusive thoughts, and the idea of honesty. Some of his work is successful in achieving this, and according to Neil, some of it isn't. Okay, Neil, over to you.
That's taken from my website. When it's on my website, it feels like self-deprecating and funny, but when it comes for someone else, it just feels really mean. I hadn't really considered that. Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. I was saying to Alan a couple of weeks ago, I gave sort of was lucky enough to be asked to give a similar spiel about, well, it must have been about 8 or 9 years ago now, Alan, I think, right? When I was the Artist in Residence, the CAP show for that. And naively, never even considered the prospect of planning to write something or considering what I'd say. And I think I probably got about 15 solid seconds of rambling in before I sort of gave up. So hopefully this goes slightly more successfully this evening. So just to give everybody a wee intro into me, into the context of me in relation to the Contemporary Art Practice course. I was a student on CAP, although it wasn't quite CAP as it's known now, or as it is now. It was the sort of form that the course took before it was contemporary art practice. It was called public art, but there was a lot of overlap and similarities to what the course was. I then went off and studied art college before coming back to Edinburgh College a few years after graduating to do the AIR ETC residency. And on the back of that, sort of never really left in the summer and continued to use the studio, and then was fortunate enough to get a job in the library in the college and have kind of bumped about ever since and never quite left. But in amongst all of those instances, I've always come back to the CAP course and my time on it as being the experience that proved most pivotal in giving me the skills needed to navigate art college, as well as my artistic career afterwards, and just my sort of career in general. I've been fortunate enough to experience CAP from both sides of the fence, both as a student and then also getting the opportunity to work with Jenny, Alan, and Colette as a member of staff in the college in a few different capacities. I get the opportunity to say something that none of them are likely to do, which is to say that a tremendous amount of work and consideration goes into making the course what it is, and that they're not only really very good at what they do, but also work incredibly hard to make the course what it is. Whilst this has been such an unusual year for everybody in so many ways, I feel as though that the CAP course has found unique ways in which to approach the current situation and, where possible, use it to the course's advantage. I remember Alan telling me at the very beginning of term, last August, September, about this idea that he had for taking everyone in the class's geolocation and finding the geographical midpoint between everyone in the class and using that space on the map to create a digital studio space. So, if people couldn't be physically in class together sharing a space, they at least could have a conceptual idea of a communal space. I think it's a really, really interesting idea, and one which comes about as a direct response to the circumstance of the last year, something that likely wouldn't have been considered prior to this because there wouldn't really have been any need for it. Really interesting, I think. In addition to the faculty, it's equally as important, if not more so, for me to acknowledge the students that make up this year's graduating class as the other half of that equation, as the thing that makes the course what it is. I've been lucky enough to have had a few opportunities to work with the CAP students this year, and I can't overstate how much I've enjoyed working with them all. I've been fortunate enough to have delivered workshops with the CAP students this year, once in the first few weeks of the academic year, way back in September last year, and then more recently in March of this year. The most notable thing for me over those two occasions was that despite everything being done online in both instances, which itself, of course, can be really, really difficult, it's a completely different energy. Everyone's in their own little rectangle on a screen. A lot of people don't have their cameras on, or microphones aren't working, or Wi-Fi connections patchy. It can be so much harder to cultivate a sense of community or a sense of classroom. However, what struck me about the CAP students in that second workshop in March is that that sense of engagement hadn't dipped at all in the intervening 7 or so months, which I think speaks huge volumes about this particular group of students. I think this year's exhibition is actually a really exciting and interesting event in the sense that as things start to ease in terms of restrictions and more people get vaccinated and people start moving about and things start opening up, I've had lots and lots of conversations about what things will look like going forward, both in terms of art, but also in terms of education. I think there could be a tendency for people to feel as though there's an asterisk against anything that's been achieved in the last year. As though when looking back on it, those achievements won't mean as much because they happened during a time of upheaval and things weren't happening to exactly the same parameters as they would have before. Therefore, somehow those things are lesser as a result. I feel that especially in this instance, in this case, it's the absolute opposite, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Not only should the students graduating this year feel an extra sense of achievement for having done so whilst navigating a massive additional set of logistical and emotional hurdles, but I also feel as though they're in a strangely privileged position. Privileged in the sense that based on all of those conversations that I've been having with people, the sort of consensus is very much that we won't be going back to what we had before in terms of art or in terms of education, but there will be a combination of the previous as well as what's happened in the last year, hopefully taking the best elements of both of those things and coming up with something that's even better. I think that the graduating students of this year shouldn't see themselves in any way as an exception or as some sort of caveat or having an asterisk against their achievements in any way, but as the first group of students and artists who are working in this new landscape, which is emerging out of what's happened in this last year. And I think that's a really, really exciting thing. And based on the standard of the work on show this evening and having seen what's been going up on Instagram in the week or so leading up to the exhibition, I'm absolutely convinced that every single one of them, regardless of what they do after CAP or where they go, will be a vital voice in shaping what that space looks like. So once again, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you this last year, and congratulations and well done on a fantastic exhibition.
Thank you, Neil. That was, I think, none of us could have put it any better. Thank you very much for that. It was beautifully put, and definitely reflects the feelings of myself, Jenny and Colette, with regards to the achievements that people have had. And just thinking about what you were saying, how people, this generation of students will go on to reflect and contribute to how this time has been seen. I think that that's absolutely true, and I think that's true of a lot of our alumni, our students who go on to reflect the situations, no matter what they're doing in any kind of creative capacity. It's something that I'd probably like to just come on to a little bit later. And thinking about yourself as a graduate, I think our guests, our live guests tonight, if people didn't already know, are all CAP alumni from as far back as the mid 2000s. I think, Neil, you go back the furthest in a moment. But thinking about your achievements since leaving CAP, your degree in Dundee, and on to the AIR residency, working at Edinburgh College, and now lecturing in New College, Lanarkshire, which I think is a testimony to the work that you've put in over the years. So how are you enjoying the complete other side of things in terms of lecturing, and how have you found it this year? I think it'd be really interesting to know, for people to hear that your first experience of a proper lecturing contract, and you've had to do it in the middle of a year.
Good. It's been amazing, but it's also been phenomenally difficult for all the reasons that yourself and Jenny and Colette have experienced far more than me in the last year, and that it can be quite difficult trying to cultivate that sense of not classroom, but that sense of sort of shared space. The thing that we always talk about, every person who in my year when we graduated art college, and anyone I know who's gone to art college and has graduated since, the thing that everyone says that they miss is that studio time. This, obviously you can hire workshops, or you can hire tools or stuff, but it's that carving out the time and the space to speak to other people who are also making work and chat about that. But at the same time, as difficult as that feels it can be from a sort of teaching perspective or a lecturing perspective, and trying to sort of keep that energy going, I feel a wee bit like a Blue Peter presenter sometimes, or have felt like a Blue Peter presenter for a few months. At the same time, what I've been really impressed by with the students who I've been working with is how, obviously in an ideal world they would be in a big room together, but they're not. So they're using social media, and they're messaging each other, and they're using Teams, and they're doing things on WhatsApp, and they're bridging that gap as much as humanly possible with the technology and things that they have around them to do that. So it's been really exciting, and it's felt a wee bit like obviously, physically, in terms of the work that's being made, it's, for most people, fundamentally different from the work that's being made. But I've had conversations with people in the last year about, like, I was at art college and was making big things because I had access to a studio and big materials and stuff. But invariably, now that I'm I'm an adult and I'm working from home a lot of the time, my practice is kind of scaled down. So I certainly don't think it's been a sort of bad thing to any extent. But I think it's been really fascinating how quickly sort of most students that I've been working with, and the CAP students this year as well, especially, have sort of mobilised in terms of finding ways to bridge that gap.
Absolutely, and thank you for that, Neil, and again, thank you for your contribution this year, both as a learning technologist, and our thanks go out to you and your colleagues, without whom we couldn't have got through this year, without a doubt, but also for your contribution with the workshops and the sequential art workshops that you did, which I think really brought a new and interesting dynamic to the work and the situation we're in. So thank you again, and cheers to everybody. I'm delighted to say this is my first of the night, so things shouldn't degenerate as much as they did last year. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm delighted to bring Jenny in now. Hi Jenny, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine. I'm just laughing at your joke. I'm feeling a bit nervous. I'm good, yeah.
Great. So Jenny's going to introduce the website and the artists and the work, and hopefully my screen sharing privileges are distributed.
Okay, I'll have a look. Yeah, they are. I'm just going to say a few things first of all, actually. So hold on a second. Well, there we go. Thank you so much, Neil. That was really great to hear from you. And thank you, Alan, as well. I feel really inadequate because I've only got one screen with about 15 different things open on it. But I have to say that Alan's totally in control of all the technological stuff behind this evening. I've just sat back and turned up, basically. So I can't complain about my one screen. And I liked your comparison to Blue Peter, Neil. I think I'm quite Newsnight myself. In my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm down that route. So I'll shut up. I'm going to really try not to do what I do all the time, which the students and everyone I work with is very familiar with, which is go off on tangents and start to talk nonsense. My role this evening is an absolute privilege, and I have this amazing, wonderful job of introducing our 2021 graduates, and I'm going to give you a synopsis of and glimpse into some of their work on the CAP website, which is our sort of stand-in graduate show. When I talk about their work, I'll be a little bit of an exhibition guide, but I want to be very clear that I'm using their words. So I'm using our graduates' words that have been adapted slightly so that I'm talking in the third person, because that would be a bit weird if I wasn't. Anyway, I'm also hoping that a few of them might want to speak, and folk can chip in with questions at any time in the chat or in the room, obviously, that we're in. But only if you want to, guys. It's not going to be a stress. If you don't want to chat, don't have to chat. Before I say a little bit more about them and we get started looking at the work, I just also wanted to say, yeah, it's brilliant to be here. I'm really happy to be here. I'm maybe going to repeat a couple of things that have been I'm going to echo some of what Neil and Alan have both said. But what I want to do is really take an opportunity at this moment to officially welcome back Colette, because Colette, we've missed you so much. And I don't want to start greeting at this time. It's only 7:25. I don't know if Colette, is Colette there? I can't see my screen. But it's okay working with Alan, but really I prefer it when you're around. So I'm glad you're back now. And
thanks, Jenny. Nice to be back.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next year. So it hasn't been the same without you, and it's really brilliant that you're here today. So it's an official welcome back, Colette.
Nice to meet you.
Good. Okay. And I think we'll hear more from Colette later on, hopefully. Well, that was no pressure, but yeah, just okay. Okay, so I'll shift on quickly. This evening is a celebration of these 14 amazing artists And the short insights into their work that will take place throughout the next 2 hours or an hour and a half now, actually, are merely a taste and an appetizer. Please do take the time after this evening to spend more time with each of them and follow links on their individual pages to other sites where you'll be able to find more information about them and their work. And if you're interested, carry on the conversation, connect with each other, and support our CAP artists as they move into the next stages of their art lives. It will definitely be worth it. So talking of journeys, the last year and 3 months has been an incredible journey. And now speaking directly to you 14, I don't know if everyone is here. I'm really hoping everyone is here. But I'm speaking to you lot. I want to say that I want to thank each of you and every one of you, we do, and say that you've made this time I can't say this word, I've put in a word that I can't say just to make a point, unfathomably easier. We have come out the other side of the unknown and are completing this year in a way that none of us would have anticipated when you joined CAP in 2019, or perhaps even this time last year. So as I sit and pause this afternoon and glance back over my shoulder and thought about you all and what I might say right now, I find myself not afraid to look. And the overall sensation I felt was one of gratitude, satisfaction, and curiosity, a trinity that today is most welcome. Thank you all for giving as much as you possibly could under circumstances that have not always been easy. Thank you for coming into our funny virtual world, believing in this place and making it work by making art, thinking about art, talking about art, writing about art, and so much more. I keep thinking about pandas, but that's like a really in joke, so we'll talk about that another time. And all this at times when the world outside, if indirectly, perhaps goes the question, why would you do that? Why does that matter? Not talking about pandas, making art, okay? Sometimes when people ask me why I do what I do, I say the simplest, clearest, and most straightforward thing that I know, and I absolutely believe that my colleagues here tonight believe the same thing, that art makes the world a better place. And for all of you this year, your work, your thoughts, your art have made my world better than you might ever realize. So thank you. It means a great deal for me to be presenting your work now. And I'm going to move on quite quickly, and we are going to start by looking at the website. So I'm going to share my screen. I can't see anything now, so somebody will, if this goes a bit haywire, somebody will have to let me know. Okay, right. Hopefully, can you see my whole desktop?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so if I do this,
Perfect.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we are going to start in no particular order. We just mixed it all up to avoid any alphabetical predictabilities, but we are going to start with Charlie. And the website, you can access, Alan's put up the site address on our Facebook page, and all of our graduates have it. And you can just click on and look at other work. I'm going to go into a sort of exhibition preview, and I'm going to speak through a work, and then we're going to go through them, and we're going to keep it moving quite quickly, actually, if that's okay. So first of all, Charlie has always had an interest in how we communicate with one another, whether that's verbally, visually, or physically. Charlie finds trying to understand others and herself on a deeper level very interesting. Yeah, me too, Charlie. I like this. She is motivated by human behaviour, how we respond to different situations, and how we connect with others. And this becomes the starting point for most of her work. Charlie likes to move freely between 2 and 3D and finds the relationship between the two to be the most interesting part about making art and exploring ideas, how one transitions to another repeatedly or over a long period of time. The work Charlie has made over the past year explored the theme of comfort and discomfort, amongst other things. When does something become personal, and how does it affect us all? Though a lot of Charlie's work becomes personal to some extent, she feels it's still relatable to how a lot of people experience the world right now. COVID-19 really pushed Charlie to make art about how horrible her own space and mind had become, offering herself a visual reference point of how she felt emotionally, sexually, and physically stuck. Charlie says that studying on CAP has pushed her work and skills forward to a point where she's completely confident in her abilities to run with an idea and produce a body of work independently and successfully. And I'm just going to move through a couple of other images of Charlie's work from the site. Okay, now, thank you, Charlie. I think, just give me a second. Okay, thank you so much, Charlie. I'm doing a loud clap. I'm going to talk about the clapping, promise myself. And we're going to have now a look at Fee's work, Fiona Hales. So, okay. So, Fee, I'm going to start and I'm going to talk about your work just on one of the images, and then we're going to watch one of your films. Okay. So, Fiona states that fluidity and a range of media she uses are reflective of a free and intuitive approach to concepts within her work. Her most recent project came with a journey. She started looking into alienation as a theme, which in the end alienated her. It alienated her enough to make a move to focus onto social voyeurism as an attempt to look more outward. By the end, Fee had found that the entire project had been about herself without her realising. The work now became A Sense of Self, in abbreviated commas, this is a working title, where she explored what felt like critical events that have impacted on her ego and personality. Fee has also traversed her relationships with her family and peers, and in more recent years, she's found herself being drawn to projects that produce concepts born out of universally recognised demons, again in inverted commas. Recurring themes in Fee's work include consumerism, social constructs like constructs like feminism, and also relationships. These subjects are informed by her experience of incongruence with the world, which she uses to explore both the obvious and also the more obscure. Fee's aesthetic values coincide with a desire to make art accessible to anyone, not just the well-established art audience. Humour and popular culture references are other tools Fee employs to engage more inclusively. Fee has found it helpful in her most recent work to take influence from other artists such as Rachel McLean and Cindy Sherman. They have assisted her confidence in using performance, video, and characters within her projects. Thank you, Fee. Well, I'm clapping too soon, folks. I'm sorry. We're going to watch a wee film. Oh, right. Hold on. Sorry. There's going to be a bit of this with me tonight. I should just say that.
Hello and welcome back to We Tell You What to Buy. Now, do I have a special treat for you? For you, or even you. Now, I know we've all seen it before, we've all heard it, but believe me, when I say it is all you will ever need, believe me, it's amazing. You don't need anything else, believe me. Now, I know you know what it is, I know what it is. What is it? Magic juice! No.
Okay, that's a snippet of Magic Juice. If you want to know more about Magic Juice, you have to, and should, immediately after we finish tonight, head back over to the website. Now, how do I get out of this? There we go. Okay, thank you, Fee. I'm going to clap now. Thank you so much. Fee, are you there? Oh,
yeah,
no.
I'm here.
Okay, sorry, I've just realised that you told me that you weren't going to speak, and I've done a sort of reverse psychology thing and now made you speak. Sorry.
I only wasn't going to speak because the Wi-Fi, but I think it might be working.
Okay, did I show enough of your film? I'm sorry that we had to keep it so short, but
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
yeah. Oh, hi, there's someone else with you tonight.
My lovely mum is watching.
Oh, hello, Mum.
No.
Okay.
Hello.
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 Where's Right, okay. That's enough. Fee, can you mute yourself again before I hear myself? Thank you. Okay, so now we are going to keep going back and we are going on to Stuart now. And Stuart, let me just go full screen. So this is Stuart Doyle. So Stuart says that having studied at Edinburgh College for the past 2 years, he feels that he has grown so much in a short space of time. Stuart's main interest within his work this year has been the natural environment, paying particular attention to his garden, looking at everyday and seasonal changes. Stuart's work varies from drawing and painting to photography and video work, something he wishes to continue doing in the future. Within his work, Stuart looks to the shadows that are created by plants and trees which inhabit familiar spaces, and he pays particular attention to the negative spaces which fill the voids around them. And these are a few of Stuart's works, and I'm just going to play Stuart's film. Thanks, Stuart. Stuart, are you there?
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
I'm going to speak to you. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Thank you for sharing that work with you. I'm really annoyed there's like an Extractor fan light switch advert now.
Right.
I don't think that's about me, is it? Maybe it is, yeah. I would totally agree with you, and I know that Alan and Colette would as well, that you've grown so much over such a short period of time, because you're one of our CAP graduates who came quite quickly after school, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I just finished 6th year.
Yeah.
On the course, yeah.
So really quite unusual to come straight from school, and I think that we've really watched your journey and noticed exactly how much you've grown. And I think you're somebody who the last year, again, it's been tough, but we would say that this year has provided opportunities for you that perhaps you wouldn't have found if we'd been in the studio. Do you feel similarly about that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think, not to say that if we were in the studio that I wouldn't maybe have sort of been as successful, maybe my work wouldn't have been as successful. Well, that's what I think anyway. So yeah, so I think lockdown sort of really helped my practice and sort of forced me to go out my comfort zone, because I think within the studio, I think feedback that I've sort of maybe had in the past was sort of sticking to my comfort zone too much. Whereas this year I've done video work, which I never considered doing before, and I've loved it. Yeah,
I think that's really clear, and I think your journey's been brilliant. So, and thank you for sharing a bit of insight into what you've been doing. Thank you. I'm going to clap.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to finish off our first block looking at some of Megan's work, and I think Megan is here as well. I should probably say, do you think, Megan, we need to give a trigger warning to your film? Maybe I will, just because I know Megan has explored, she's really explored fear this year. So if you do have a kind of fear of clowns, I think it's a classic phobia, actually. You might want to look away in a few minutes. I think these are okay. I mean, I don't know if these are okay if you've got a clown phobia, but anyway, Megan, you're there, aren't you? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I'm here.
Right, okay, so Megan is mainly, oh, wait a minute. Sorry, Megan, I flapped a wee bit there. Let's see, okay. So Megan is mainly interested in portrait and figurative work, but this year has explored a range of themes that have pushed her out of her comfort zone. Megan says that she's learned a lot about herself and her practice. In her most recent project, she has focused on fear, and through this has really enjoyed working with collage and mixed media. Megan's fear of clowns is what her project developed into, and she thought it would possibly help her to overcome this fear. But in reality, has made clowns all the more terrifying to her. I'm going to make you sit through this now. Megan has explored video making for this project and found that it's more the sounds that she's become interested in, especially laughing, that connects most to fear. And she's depicted this in most of the collage works and the film that we're about to watch. And thank you, Megan. Thank you. So there are our first 4 CAP graduates. I'm going to hand back over to Alan, who is going to take us on to the next stage of our evening.
Thanks, Jenny, and thanks to all the artists we've just seen. Wonderful work, as I'm sure everybody watching will agree. And hello to everybody who's watching and leaving such lovely messages in the YouTube chat. Please continue to do so. Chat amongst yourselves, say hello to each other, send us more wonderful messages. That would be lovely. The next part of our evening is another special guest, and I am delighted to welcome Shireen. Jenny's now going, oh no, I skipped something. You're right, I have, and it was a mistake. So I'll do it at the end, Jenny, sorry. My dyslexia gets the better of me after a wine or two. So I'm going to introduce the wonderful Shireen Sarur. Shireen is our current artist in residence and has been for the whole year and a bit. And it's been fantastic to be able to extend the artist in residence for Shireen, because obviously the experience has been very different. We'll maybe have a chat about that after we see Shireen's video. So Shireen graduated from Contemporary Art Practice in 2014, and then from there she went on to Glasgow School of Art, School of Sculpture and Environmental Art, where she graduated from in 2017. Shireen would describe herself as a multidisciplinary artist, exploring mediums such as still and moving image, as well as sculpture, installation, and more recently performance. So Shireen, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, I mean, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, see, that was the catchphrase of the year for me, if you can hear me or not.
Okay.
Just saying.
You're on mute. Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you like me to just go straight into playing the video, or do you want to say anything to introduce the video?
I think I'd like to say that, just so the viewers know, that the video that you're about to see is a recording of a performance I did with the CAP students. It sort of articulates the kind of year we've had via obviously interacting online, and it's edited down for viewers' purpose. A little bit of an artist intervention there with regards to my take. So hopefully you're enjoying. And yeah, that's all I've got to say.
Okay, and here I hope. Sorry, my bad. I'm not fully on it. I'm just about there.
No, it just adds to the theme of my video. It's totally fine, Alan.
Let me just get back to the beginning.
Okay.
And share my screen. Desktop 2. And play.
Alan, are you there?
Yes. Yeah, sorry, I am here. Sudden sweat on there because I thought I'd been kicked out the call.
I was wondering, was it something that I did? Was it the video?
Sorry about that, everyone. Stop sweating now, maybe. Okay, I'm going to stop the share. Okay, so we should just be all of us back in the room now. No screen sharing, hopefully. And apologies for revealing my my YouTube watching favourite watches here. Least said about that, the better, probably. Shireen, thank you so very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I think that was a really lovely piece of work, and wonder if you could tell us a little bit about how you made it and what you were thinking, and just take us through it a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so obviously I'm trying not to re-articulate what Neil's already said, but I really related to it in terms of this year, and he put it so beautifully as well, so I don't want to even attempt it. But I obviously had different intentions for the start of my residency, but given the current circumstances, they obviously had to change. So I felt like I took time to get to know the students, do one-to-one workshops with them, doing the group workshops with them, to kind of get a sense of what maybe would benefit them in their development and what I could teach them, given the current circumstances as well. So for me, obviously it was important to reflect on aspects that I like with my own practice, but to also develop theirs. So it just felt natural for me to kind of give it a two-dimensional element, which is why I went to talk about kind of collage work and how that can relate to the start of their practices in terms of ideas and developing that, and then maybe potentially into kind of final works as well. But I also wanted to make a really big point of kind of trying to articulate the situation that we're in now, and that's the fact that obviously we all are viewing each other via these screens into our own little individual worlds, and I felt like it was very important to kind of reflect that very unique situation that we're in into my workshop too. So I think it just developed naturally, to be honest. In the best way that I can put it. And I thought that maybe trying to kind of give them a little bit of a sense of performance and video art, which is aspects that I've started to kind of enjoy in my own work recently. So it just kind of came natural, like I said. I thought, oh, well, got this new platform, Zoom. I think I should use it to my advantage a little bit, even though I find it very challenging at times. Maybe it was also me trying to kind of grow myself and how I could use it as well and how I could utilize it. But yeah, so don't know what else to say beyond that. I just thought, okay, well, you know, test it, see if I can record it, see what comes out of it, try different kind of forms of collage in a different sense. Yeah, I think I'm just repeating myself at this point, Alan. I don't know what else to say.
I think what's really really interesting and great about the work is exactly that, and I think you undersell it a wee bit by saying that you know, it just came that, you know, it was a natural progression or whatever. I think it really does tap into an experience that we all recognise now, and really takes advantage of that. And it's so unusual to kind of see into other people's worlds in this.
Yeah.
And when we're in the studio, obviously we see each other's studio space, but we don't engage with that kind of personal space at all. And, you know, quite appropriately, really, we don't. But this has opened a kind of window into all of our worlds, I think, which has been really interesting. It's that kind of snapshot. And I think you really kind of took advantage of that, and as art should, and as the graduating artists and the first years who were involved also should be. You know, it's about using what's available.
Exactly.
You know, and of course the studio is not available. We can't make big things, as been said before, but we can use the resources that we have to hand. And I think that this project really exemplifies that. And the collaboration aspect of it I found really interesting. How did you find that kind of collaborative aspect?
Well, I mean, that was one of the things. Like, obviously, I sent you over a little bit of a synopsis about myself, and I had added at the end that performance had been kind of a recent venture for me. I had used performance before with a singular meaning myself, but to be able to do that with people, I think for me, after in the process of leading up to the workshop and doing the workshop and post the workshop, I realized that I needed that myself, that connection with people in some kind of way, and it made me quite emotional. Even I don't want to go there because obviously it's a very happy time right now. But even just trying to be happy, but even just editing that video, watching it back, just that moment where everyone's gone and it's just their own individual worlds. Yeah, studio's great, but that, like you said, that we don't really get to see that every day. It's a very unique situation, and being able to see that and being able to then see them do something a bit different in regards to being in that element, and then even just seeing them pop back up at the end and their smiles on their faces and stuff. I just think, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I just think it really, it just gave me an experience that I think I needed at that time. And I hope the students obviously benefited from that too, which I believe they did.
Well, I absolutely know that they did. And I think that what you did was really what we've been trying to do all year, and this work, you've really succeeded in that, in helping build a sense of community and kind of communal action. Everybody doing the same, having the same experience, even through this kind of detached digital platform, I think was really interesting, and it's absolutely had a huge effect on those people that have been involved, and lots of people have commented on the way that working with you in that workshop really, and Neil's as well, helped open up their practice and force them into situations that they wouldn't or haven't previously considered. And I think that that's exactly what we're looking for when we're asking people to do these kind of things, to help broaden people's options and give new life to what they're doing. So I think both you and Neil did exactly that, and at an absolutely appropriate moment in the course. So thank you very much, and I'm sure all our graduates tonight would agree with that.
I was going to say the better.
And obviously we've had it's been wonderful having you as our artist in residence for so long. It's been such a shame that we haven't been able to kind of connect in a different way, but we've explored new and exciting ways and opened up new avenues.
Exactly.
And that'll be, it's a credit to you and everybody that's been involved. And obviously, first opportunity, you'll be back in, no doubt, seeing everybody in the flesh. And
you wouldn't be able to stop me, Alan.
Your contribution to the crits, etc., have been really great and very supportive. And the students, I think, would join me in thanking you for your contribution over the last 18 months. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys too.
Okay. Now, just before I hand back to Jenny, I am going to share with you a message from our sponsor. We have a couple of non-live, pre-recorded contributions. We wanted to have a kind of a little bit of a mix, and if anybody who's met our next contributor is going to know that it's probably just as well that we've pre-recorded this.
Shopping. I hope Neil's watching.
I hope he is. I know he is. So let me share. Neil has got some really lovely words to say to everybody, but if it wasn't pre-recorded, it would take the rest of the night.
Oh.
God love him, because he's so enthused by his position as the manager, but also so enthused by what everybody's done. And of course, he knows I think almost all of you. well from previous courses. So it's really great that Neil has agreed to do this. So a message from our sponsor.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I'd like to offer you my sincere congratulations on making it to the end of your H&D in Contemporary Art Practice. You all deserve a huge amount of applause, and congratulations on not only the work that you're showing tonight. I've seen a few appetizers on social media, and it all looks so fantastic and creative and professional. So you deserve huge success on the learning that you've done so far and the work that you've produced. But I'd also like to actually maybe make a little bit of a focus about thanking you. I'd like to thank you not only for being creative, but I'd like to thank you for being resilient, tenacious, for working in partnership with the staff, to embrace and overcome all the challenges that you guys have had to face along with the teaching staff in navigating our way through this, trying to be polite, very difficult set of circumstances we've all found ourselves working in. And it struck me that it's not only your graduating year, your second year, but also you guys got impacted, halfway through your first year as well. So, I mean, it's been significant in many, many ways for you. You've not been able to access the studios as you normally would do. I'm aware that people have been working in kitchens, kitchen tables, sheds, bedrooms, wherever it is, you've found your creative space and you've shared and collaborated online with the staff. So genuinely, not only congratulations, but thank you so much for what you've done. You've been inspirational. You have been right at the beginning of the development of the Hubcap Gallery. Thank you for that. And I also hope that once we get back on campus, we can potentially get you to exhibit work with us in the campus, in a real space, in real time, and actually be able to have and raise a glass and applaud you again.
I would like to thank Neil on behalf of Jenny and myself in terms of our experience on CAP this year. I think that we are grateful for the support and the latitude that Neil and the managers have given us to do what we felt was right in terms of how the course is delivered this year and supporting the new things that we have done and the artists that we've brought in, etc. So we have had that support and we're very grateful for it. So thank you to Neil for that. Now, I'm going to pass you straight back now to Jenny, who's going to talk us through our next set of artists.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Shireen. That was really great to see that work, really lovely. I've not seen it, so that was a real treat. And thanks, Neil, for your really kind words. We are going to shift on. We're running a bit of ahead of schedule. No, we're not, sorry. We're running behind schedule. I'm just going to say everything backwards tonight. And we're going to go to Cami. So Cameron Mellors. Okay. I'm going to sit on one of Cami's work and just read something out, and then he's given us a couple of titles which explain the work a little bit more. So Cami has said that both of the works presented for the CAP-oot launch tonight and they're on the website, were influenced by the Japanese floral practice of ikebana and the concept of mono no aware, a term for the awareness of impermanence and the transience of things. Made during lockdown, they were solutions to the disconnect between the built and natural environment, bringing nature into the interior with a sense of permanence. So I'm just going to go over to the image on the left. And Cami, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this image is called Pathos. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a triptych of ink on paper made through a process of photographing, editing, and then printing. And this image here is called Stone Roses. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And it's composed of dried roses applied to stone resin filler. And it's not a reference to the band of the same name, or is it?
No, it's not, no.
Okay, thank you, Cami. I just wanted to ask you something. Are you okay if I ask you something, first of all?
Mm-hmm.
Have you been to Japan?
No, I've not.
Okay. I think we had that conversation before, sorry. I know that Japan's really important to you in terms of philosophy and thinking, and I just wondered if it had been, I imagine Japan is exactly like this work. I'll just leave that there. Thank you, Cami. Do you want to say anything else?
No, that's good.
Okay, how was my pronunciation?
Great. Perfect.
Okay. Oh, good. Thank you. I'll do my lone clap unless anybody else does want to join in. Thank you. And next, thanks, Claire. I could hear you. We're going to go on to Abby now. And I think Abby is here as well. Oh, here. I thought I couldn't find you for a second, Abby. Is that okay? Can you see that? It's taken a bit of time to load my site. So throughout her practice, Abby has said that she's found herself gravitating towards themes of care and nurture. Abby has taken influence from human communication and the way we socially grow and interlace. Personal and secondhand experience from the people surrounding Abby are key sources of inspiration, as she has a desire for her work to be accessible and relatable to others. Abby enjoys work conceptually, often using sculpture and installation to explore her themes. However, since working from home, has enjoyed adapting her work to the digital realm by creating video and using written word. This written word often guides Abby's practice from the beginning, using it as a way to express her thoughts and experiences. And finally, in last year of the HND, she's begun to include it as one of the main components of her work. Abby realizes that her art is constantly evolving whilst discovering new ways of working, and as a result, rarely confines herself to a specific discipline. However, most recently, Abby has discovered an interest in sequential art, which will be her next focal point for future creative output. And that's a really lovely connection to Neil, obviously, because I think that had a big impact on Abby, but she might want to say something about that herself. So this is a detail of the work that we were just sitting at. And an example of that use of text that Abby referred to. Thank you, Abby. Are you there, Abby? Can't see.
Yeah, I'm on Dan's screen.
Ah, okay. I can't see it. Oh, I can see you now. Hello. I think that was a really nice thing what you said about your work and the way that words have appeared, because you know how I feel about words and writing. And for a lot of you, I hope that you've reached a place with text this year that is maybe more comfortable than it was before in language and words. I'm not asking you to affirm that, just making a comment.
I mean, yes, that is also true.
I think you're all brilliant writers, and I think that's one of the things about coming into the course, that's a real privilege for us, is seeing that aspect of your practice grow as well. And I think, Abby, it's been really clear in what you've done that it's been important. Okay, thank you, Abby. I'm going to go back and I don't think Thea's here. I'm not sure if Thea's here. She wasn't here at the start. I'm hoping she's here now, but I don't know. Alan, can you see if Thea's around?
No, I can't see her.
Okay, so I'm going to talk you through Thea's work, but unfortunately, she's not here. I'm just going to click onto one of Thea's images. So Thea's work that she's presenting here today is based on how small and significant memories of one's city or hometown can be the foundation of your relationship with the place that you live. The signage of shops, changing owner, or a new traffic system. When looking back, it is possible to look at changes in either a negative or positive way. Thea wanted to show her relationship with the city and her view of only memories she and the city will have. Thea was born in England and spent her childhood in Greece, but has been in Edinburgh for the last 10 years. Her preferred medium is paint, and she does occasionally work in collage and printmaking. Much of her work focuses on colour and pattern, with themes relating to religion, politics and fashion, and in this instance, architecture and, I suppose, psychogeography of cities. Thea also enjoys looking at cultural differences in the environment and ways of living. And these are some of Thea's collage works. All cited around Edinburgh, more abstract. And then if I come out of this, we can watch, I think, a very short film. I'll just play it again. Okay, so I'm sorry that Thea's not here with us this evening, but I think we can just give her a chat, clap anyway. Thanks, Thea. Okay, so finishing our next, this block, we're going to look at Molly's work. And I'll come on to a couple of Molly's drawings. So Molly states that her practice explores different concepts and ideas using a wide range of materials, which are often digitally based. Molly's projects within the CAP course have been inspired by themes of society, identity, and the search for new ideas and ways to connect and collaborate with audience. For Molly, the importance of her practice is the search and the communication of the meaning behind each of the ideas that she takes on. And Molly, I know you're here, you might not want to say anything, but I think more recently it's become clear that you've sort of solidified a few of those ideas and thoughts that perhaps have been helpful for you in developing your practice at this stage. So some drawing works that I'm going to flick through. Molly, do you call these drawings?
I think more like digital edits. I think there is some drawings in them. I guess like digital drawings.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Molly. And I'm going to just hand back to Alan now, who's going to introduce our next guest.
Okay, thanks for that, Jenny. I'm a little bit of trouble moving things between screens. There we go. Okay, so as I was saying earlier, part of this evening is obviously having our live guests, and all of our guests this evening are, as I also said previously, are ex-CAP students by means of a celebration of the achievements of some of our CAP alumni. There are, dozens upon dozens, probably hundreds of CAP alumni by now, and dozens upon dozens of incredibly successful individuals. And obviously, one day it'd be wonderful to celebrate everybody and have everybody joining us in these things. But we have had to pick very carefully this year. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Caitlin Walker-Stewart. Caitlin graduated from CAP in 2014 and moved on to London to study fine art at Central St Martin's. When studying at Central St Martin's, Caitlin's practice was based in performance, drag and moving image, focusing on female representation in mainstream media, such as film, television and advertising, and the concept of celebrity-fan relationships. Since graduating from university, Caitlin has curated and produced work and exhibitions for art organisations such as Tate, the Bomb Factory, Art Foundation, Coppell Gallery, and Creekside Artists. She manages a performance project Staged, which aims to showcase the work of contemporary performance artists to new audiences, and is in the process of transforming Staged into an online and event-based museum. Caitlin has been developing her career in the museum sector, currently working at Tate as an art handling technician, and previously on exhibitions programs and events at organisations such as BAFTA and the Showroom. Caitlin is currently studying her Masters at Birkbeck University in Museum Cultures and Curating, and is interested in unpacking how museums work with their often difficult histories. So I am going to welcome Caitlin.
Hi, Alan. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we certainly can.
Good. Thanks for the intro. In being aware of time, I'm running late. I'll try and whiz through this kind of as quickly as possible, aiming for no more than 15 minutes. I'll try to be quick, but I'm going to just talk through a bit of my current research, which I'm doing on my master's, which has kind of been exploring ways in which curatorial agency can move beyond exhibition making to actually intervene in museum structures, specifically relating to my workplace at Tate. So in a traditional sense, curating centres around the act of caring for objects and their display, but contemporary curating can also go beyond the singular notion to become a multifaceted role and occupy a more central position on a much broader stage. This broader stage can allude to a contemporary idea of care in museums, which centres around conceptual care of the histories on display, how these histories are told, and how those working and visiting museums are also cared for. Tate's a museum which suggests in its 2020 to 2025 vision that curators must now work in different ways to meet their institutional aims. Should the role of curator remain in its traditional form, their particular aims of engaging with broader audiences globally and championing art for all at Tate are unlikely to be met. That being said, it's hard to fathom how curators alone can be responsible for the successful delivery of these aims when working within a large institution. Tate's current priorities have a clear focus on anti-racism with a view to ensuring that they are inclusive for all non-white staff and visitors and more representative of the UK population. In its vision, it implies a shared responsibility to collectively deliver its goals which go beyond members of the curatorial team, and therefore a reallocation of curatorial agency across its staff structure in order to best deliver the aims of the institution. This talk is going to focus on how Tate has attempted to change its institutional structure in response to its vision and in its pledge to become an anti-racist institution, and what it's done well and where it's failing. So in order to think about how curatorial agency can move beyond exhibition making and shift Tate's mechanics towards an anti-racist structure, we can first consider how its curators deviate from more traditional models of display to begin these interventions. Zanelli Maholi's exhibition at Tate Modern is an interesting example of well-informed and meaningful curating with lasting activist legacy. Acting in retrospective, the exhibition, which has just finished, consisted of over 260 photographs and views Maholi's career from the early noughties to the present day. Moholy considers themselves to be a visual activist, and their show celebrates Black, transgender, lesbian, and gender non-conforming individuals and their lives. It ends with a timeline of South African historical activism and shows how Moholy's life and practice fits into this. The key component of the exhibition, which extends beyond traditional display frameworks, is found upon exit, a reflective area which invites audiences to respond to questions posed by Moholy, which can be seen printed on the museum wall. They ask us if we would like to share stories inspired by their work, our thoughts on photography's power, and whether we have a form of activism. Everyone working in and visiting Tate has the opportunity to express their views, reflections, and feelings in response to the subject of Black, queer, and trans visual history in Moholy's show. In this way, Tate seeks to enable those non-curators to exercise curatorial control and agency. This agency is found in the responses which are left on display, many of which telling personal experiences of LGBTQIA+ people of colour engaged in activist struggles. These documents belong to Moholy following the exhibition and will broaden their archive and further inform their activism. Providing staff and visitors with the opportunity to publicly respond to these questions and contribute to the legacy of the exhibition shows a democratization of power within the institution. The curators are using their positions effectively in order to redistribute curatorial power and to promote both public and internal anti-racist activism and dialogues. Crucially, the audience reflections installed on a public museum wall echo the placement of Moholy's photos in the previous rooms and tell us that Tate, in this moment, are valuing the voices of its staff and visitors in a similar way to the art that it exhibits. This display strategy facilitates further critical discourse on the histories included in the show and grants everyone involved in the process curatorial agency. The show's curator acknowledges that whilst it's an important aspect of Tate's work, contemplative areas in exhibitions can often be an afterthought. For Moholy and the curators, this section was one of the key areas of the show and was initially planned to occupy a place at the centre of the exhibition. Contrary to a traditional model of fly-in, fly-out curating, the approach to Moholy's exhibition at Tate demonstrates a genuine desire for care via discourse and for a legacy to follow the exhibition. This is achieved by working with and being guided by Moholy and those from this community, as opposed to curators without this lived experience sealing their own narratives with an authoritative stamp. When considering democratic staffing structures, Moholy's exhibition proved successful. This was due to its non-conforming to hierarchical management. In tandem with the exhibition's inclusive approach to curatorial input from visitors, it was curated with support from Tate's LGBTQIA and self-declared and named BAME network. One LGBTQIA network member who isn't a curator assisted in writing the glossary of terms which accompanied the exhibition. In the decision by Tate to extend this curatorial input to staff outside of the curating department, it demystified the idea of the curator as an all-knowing authority and demonstrates an understanding that by opening curatorial structures to those with greater contextual insight and lived experience, Tate can produce better results. The shift in agency highlights the value of all museum staff, regardless of their particular job role. It acknowledges that adherence to strict hierarchies may produce more uninformed results and that more collaborative, well-researched, and meaningful exhibitions are possible, shifting the core of the institution. Although this particular example moves Tate closer to its aim of being anti-racist and inclusive, it occurred only as a temporary exhibition. In order for them to continue their work and engage in more democratic and anti-racist curating, it must consider how to prioritize this aim on an ongoing basis when working with its collection, this permanent collection. So one key area of Tate's history which must be confronted on this basis is its foundations built on the profits made from the slave trade. Tate was established with the collection of Henry Tate, who was involved in the slave trade through his co-owned sugar firm Tate and Lyle. The collection consisted of some works acquired from or depicting individuals involved directly in slavery. This history, however, is not clear to a visitor walking through Tate Britain's permanent collection, and it's therefore hugely problematic as it fails to acknowledge Tate's colonial past. In order to unpack this difficult history, education is a vital tool which the museum has used to reflect on its collection. Tours delivered via its learning programme can be an effective method of undertaking this reflective process. I attended a tour at Tate Britain as a member of staff focusing on Portrait of St. Francis Ford's Children Giving a Coin to a Beggar Boy by Sir William Beechey. Visually, the painting appears nondescript, wholly in keeping with the style of its neighbouring paintings. Two well-dressed children stand close, one reaching out their hand to give a coin to a homeless child. This could be interpreted as the philanthropic nature of Ford, kind of, teaching his children to be kind to those less fortunate than them. However, what the painting doesn't reveal is that Ford was a fourth-generation plantation owner from Barbados who upheld pro-slavery agendas in his parliamentary role. The painting's been interpreted by some to be an illustration of his view that poor people in Britain were worse off than enslaved individuals in the West Indies. The tour was led by Alice Proctor, who initially began discussing these issues covertly outside the knowledge of institutions. However, Tate now employs her to lead these uncomfortable art tours, as she calls them, within the organisation, and to hold training sessions on these topics with staff. In this action, Tate are demonstrating a rigorous critical inquiry into its own practice with full public accessibility and welcoming question on its history and collection. Proctor suggests that there's still a serious lack of museum professionals speaking for communities that they're part of. And this issue was undertaken effectively in the Moholy exhibition, where agency was passed to individuals and communities who thereby contributed to subjects in line with their knowledge and experience. This resulted in more meaningful curating. Tate has, however, also encountered extreme failures, especially in the past year, in how it's approached this type of democratic curating within its institutional structure. The Rex Whistler restaurant at Tate Britain sits within Whistler's mural, The Expedition in Pursuit of Rare Meats, which depicts vast landscapes, people socialising and travelling on foot and horse and via carriage. Upon closer inspection, however, it becomes clear that the mural contains extremely upsetting and dehumanising images of enslaved people. In the wake of 2020's Black Lives Matter protests and activism, the restaurant setting has been met with a great deal of criticism from both Tate staff and members of the public. The key failing, voiced in the petition for its removal, is the decision by Tate to use this mural as a decoration for an expensive restaurant entertaining a majorly white patronage, advertised as one of Europe's most amusing rooms. This problematic and publicly deranged decision was clearly overlooked by Tate, who in fact undertook major restorative work to the mural as recently as 2013 as part of the museum's £45 million revamp. So in the context of curatorial agency, when thinking about those proposing removal of the mural via their own activism, be it museum professionals, visitors, or petition signers, we can question who is truly curating the work in its current context. Arguably, one group doing so is Tate's self-named BAME network, incorporating staff from all levels of the institution and not only those from the curatorial department. This is a crucial point when considering structural intervention at Tate. If all staff from all levels and with all different lived experiences have their curatorial agency acknowledged and implemented, then poor curatorial decisions which display ignorance and racism, such as the Whistler restaurant, are less likely to be made. The network's been involved with talks with executive staff regarding the mural, and as a result of its consultancy combined with public pressure, it looks like the restaurant will be relocated away from the mural. Tate's also established an internal race equality task force constituted by all levels of staff to support them in becoming an anti-racist institution, anticipating that the task force will accelerate the progress in this area. The formation of the task force seems like a pivotal step in Tate becoming an anti-racist institution, since it is steered by staff from all levels who have the capacity to influence and guide executive curatorial decision-making. In due course, it will be important to analyse the effectiveness of the task force in order to assess whether it's an efficacious method for shifting Tate's institutional structure, and to ensure it's not simply a step taken to appease public pressure at a crucial time of protest. This analysis will, of course, take time as it undertakes its work over the next few years, but we can begin to get a sense of the potential for change that it has by gaining some insight from those involved in its early stages and how the foundations have been laid. A colleague of mine provided some insight into her experience of the task force in terms of how she engages as a member of staff and as an activist. She found that it's not too challenging. She's had a very supportive department who listen to her and help implement changes. She's encountered difficulties, however, when it comes to things such as financial compensation and emotional support as a part-time employee. Working part-time, there's very limited time to focus on the work of the task force during working hours. So if part-time employees have insufficient time during paid working hours to undertake duties of the task force, We should question whether in trying to become inclusive Tate are actually potentially being more exploitative and only broadening the problem. Secondly, the task force has encountered lengthy bureaucratic processes and a lack of ability to bring about immediate change. She explains how she struggled to add points to the agenda, or when raising issues has received long policy documents by way of reply. This approach gives rise to questions of curatorial agency, which she feels she does not yet possess working outside of Tate's curatorial team. This is concerning, considering the task force was formed in response to a racist artwork combined with thoughtless curating positioned ornamentally in a wealthy white space. She explains that the majority of curatorial teams are people without lived experience of racism, and this has enabled mistakes to be made. She also explains that by making curatorial processes more transparent to all Tate staff, both in and outside of the task force, this would prevent repeat reoccurrences of racist artworks being shown in an exhibition without any explanation. This specifically relates to Tate's 2020 exhibition, British Baroque, Power and Illusion, which was co-curated by 3 white curators. The exhibition received a great deal of backlash due to the inclusion of a painting by Benedetto Gennari, which depicts a white woman surrounded by enslaved Black children. Initially, the painting had no wall text discussing the work in relation to racism and the representation of these people. She disappointingly feels that the task force so far has highlighted that its members are, as yet, unable to implement their recommendations directly and must still work within Tate's current institutional structure, which does not yet allow for more radical change. So the mural highlights that despite previous frameworks and decision-making originally positioning artworks, as these works age and exist through different times, they'll always be recontextualized in line with their current present. The potential repurposing of the mural won't be a decision made by any one Tate curator, but by incorporating the curatorial agency of those holding Tate to account through contemporary curatorial and cultural discourse. This will include both Tate staff across all levels and public. With activism surrounding the mural redefining this access, it's unclear who the work's current curator is. It's interesting to consider this affirmation's intersectionality of the museum worker when they're acting in the role of curator. However, they are an employee and a representative of their institution, but also an autonomous member of the public with the same rights, both of ownership and critique, to the public spaces they happen to call their place of work. We've seen Tate curators navigate this successfully in the Moholy exhibition, where they use their agency as a form of activism to intervene in their institution structures to promote anti-racist work and working practices. What we've also seen, however, is that it can be more difficult for those holding official curatorial roles at Tate to advocate as an activist for change. This is due to their obligation to adhere to a neutral public persona when representing their institution. We can see this conflict personified in the curator Mark Godfrey, who was suspended for publicly disagreeing with Tate's decision to postpone its upcoming Philip Guston exhibition. The exhibition's been postponed following the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests and anti-racist activism. Concerns were raised over the inclusion of works depicting KKK members and how these works could be displayed sensitively. He announced on Instagram that he felt Tate's decision ignored the chance to ask critical questions about racial justice within the context of the exhibition in this current moment. He used his position to advocate this standpoint. However, unlike the case with the BAME network and public activism surrounding the mural, Godfrey was punished for using his agency as both a curator and critical member of the public. This situation highlights that prior to 2020's BLM protest, it would appear that Tate had not considered the nuances of this exhibition fully in relation to race, and this could be seen as supporting accusations that these issues are simply not one of Tate's current priorities. In suspending him and not approaching the situation differently, there's been a missed opportunity for critical and curatorial dialogues. As a museum which committed itself to becoming an anti-racist institution, this response undermines its 5-year aims, which clearly state it will listen to staff by both analysing and responding to their feedback. When it comes to staff members, curators are not using their agency to challenge Tate outside of its institutional structure. They've been met with punishment or inaction. This situation clarifies where the real work lies. So to sum up, in pledging to become an anti-racist institution, Tate are demonstrating a clear vision for the future. If it's to achieve the same, it is essential that curatorial agency is moved beyond exhibition making and employed as a crucial tool to intervene in Tate's institutional structures, which are formed on the foundations of its colonial past. These structural interventions should focus not only what is displayed at Tate and in what form, but also the processes in place to determine how and by whom these curatorial decisions are made. Specific problems relate to not listening effectively to staff and failing to create an institution-wide dialogue on issues concerning this pledge. Despite providing opportunities like the task force to better unpack its institutional whiteness, it seems that the museum's current structure may impede the effectiveness of such measures if staff are not permitted to implement direct, immediate, and radical change, utilising the agency afforded to them. Perhaps Tate should look more carefully at situations where its executive decision-making is challenged or questioned by staff. There needs to be more transparency surrounding its curatorial decision-making, and this must be open to input from all staff with different lived experiences. This could perhaps take the form of forums, exhibition updates, or feedback outlets, which could be made available to curators undertaking their roles. It's not to suggest that curators don't possess unique skills and knowledge which enable them to carry out their roles more than you or I could, but what it does suggest is that lasting interventions in Tate's institution will only be possible when there is care and consideration for all individuals who perform within this structure and their lived experiences. Tate's institution, acting only as a whole, has the power to make its actions and curating more significant, textually informed and anti-racist. So thank you for listening to my TED Talk. I am now finished, but I know that you guys have been looking a bit at these kind of issues in your class, and I thought it might be interesting to kind of talk through my thoughts and what I've been researching the last half year. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. It's a real privilege to have had you taking us through your research and your recent paper in that way, and really crucial and timely that these things are being discussed. How are you finding the course that you're on in terms of how it's approached to kind of these issues? I mean, obviously you've discussed the issue around Tate, but in terms of the course that you're doing, I think it's interesting for us to consider that.
It's actually really great. So this was an essay I wrote based on just a more kind of general module where we covered lots of different kind of museum issues, approaches, skills, but there's specific kind of option modules that you can take, and more than half of them focus on issues around, for instance, slavery and its legacies in museums, curating difficult histories, lots of different kind of subjects which are really pivotal and crucial, I think, to studying and being aware of today as you kind of enter the sector, hoping to, you know, work in museums or work in galleries. So I think that in a way they're really encouraging us to research these kind of issues and topics, and a lot of the tutors themselves specialize in this area of research as well. So it's really great that you can go to them for a lot of kind of specific insight about these issues, and the tutors themselves come from a wide range of kind of backgrounds and lived experiences, which is really important as well. So it's really good. Great.
And just before we move on, I'm just curious to know, obviously, it's a wee while since you started CAP.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I think you did foundation before that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did foundation 2011 to 2012, then CAP 2012 to 2014.
If when you first came into CAP, you can kind of, it could have envisaged the kind of path that you've taken to coming back and giving your talk this evening.
Oh gosh, no, it's so weird. So I left CAP and obviously went to London and thought, I'm going to be an artist. This is what I'm going to do. But then leaving university and having to, in a way, which all you guys will have to do soon, fend for yourself, and suddenly, oh, I don't have a space to make work anymore. I don't have anywhere to put exhibits on, etc. I sort of had to start making those things happen myself by organizing my own events, working with peers to like kind of make things happen independently. And through that process, I then became really interested in the actual process itself of making exhibitions and curating work, and not only my own work, which I still produce, but supporting others to kind of realize their work and projects, and through that collaboration, you know, so many exciting things can happen, things can change, things can be very like flexible, and that's a really valuable sort of collaboration to have. And through doing that and working in museums since graduating, it's brought me to where I am now. So yeah, if you kind of told me in CAP that this is what I'd be chatting about when I came back in like nearly 10 years, I'd probably be like, what? That's so random. But yeah, that's how it goes.
Great. Well, I hope that CAP helped in some way in that journey.
Oh yeah, it's like the foundation to everything. CAP's like, even now, me and my friends were all like, oh, how great was CAP? It was just like, so it taught me everything to start on where I am. So yeah, great course, amazing course.
Thank you for that. I wasn't fishing much.
Not much. I would have said it anyway. It's fine.
But also, you bring things round nicely for me, just to say that probably most people won't be aware of this, but we have just finished, Jenny and I have just finished delivering, and this year's graduate artists have just finished the experience of the newly developed and restructured course, which Jenny and I were both very involved in. And we have to, I think, thank all the previous and current groups of students, because without them and their desire to kind of progress and go on and do new things and reflect the world as it is at that moment, perhaps Jenny and I wouldn't be so driven to kind of make sure that a course is as relevant as it can be. And certainly on the back of what you've just done, Caitlin, I'd really like to pay tribute to what Jenny's done for the last 2 years in terms of the theory and context course, which she's developed more or less single-handedly in collaboration with a colleague from West Lothian College in terms of the units, but in terms of the delivery and the breadth and the inclusiveness of that part of our course, I think is wholly down to Jenny, and I think that I'd certainly like to thank her, and I'm sure that the students would as well, for the experience that they've had in dealing with all the kind of currency of issues in contemporary art practice. So a wee round of applause for Jenny, I would say. And of course, Caitlin.
Thank you. I've got some people in the room that I'm just going to get out the room. Sorry.
Okay, so thanks very much, Caitlin. And
For having me.
just briefly before handing back on to Jenny, I'll just say that that's the last of our live guests this evening. And we do have 2 more video presentations to give. But if Jenny and if you as the audience are happy to indulge me, just to expand on what Caitlin's just done in terms of the way that we've developed the course. As Jenny has developed the theory and context, and I've tried to develop the kind of professional practice and exhibition. And of course, Jenny's definitely overlapped and contributed to that aspect of the course as well, without a doubt, as well as everything else.
I contribute to the unprofessionalism, the unprofessional practice.
But that's just as important, I think.
Yeah. I thought that was funny.
Very much part of that professional practice aspect and the theory and context is our programme of visiting artists and Hubcap gallery. And so I'd just like to thank our visiting artists that we've had this year. They've made fantastic contributions by giving talks to both groups of students. So Rona Foster, Jacob Littlejohn, Eamon Callum, Martin Fowler, Eric Schumacher and Benjamin Fallon, who've all contributed as part of our Artist Talk or Talking CAP programme. But also, and we'll come on to Hubcap a little bit later on, but part of what Hubcap Gallery has provided us a fantastic set of professional practice talks also from likes of Megan Rudden, Natasha Ruana, Kadea Kuchenmeister, Charlotte Hicks and Hannah Nugent. So I'd just like to thank all of those people for their contribution and say that, just briefly say in terms of the ethics of that, we always pay our artists for the talks that they do. We don't believe in people doing things for free. It does cost a little bit of money. And if there's any manager still listening, it does cost a little bit of money. So feel free to give us some more. And also, Hubcap, I think, will have a virtual donations box on their new website at some point. So please feel free to donate to their program as well. Okay, big and bowl away. Jenny, back to you.
Yeah, I'm probably moving into management quite soon, Alan. So
excellent.
I'll make sure that we've got enough money to see us through. Neil's offered me a job. If Neil's watching, he knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, okay. Thank you. Thanks, Caitlin. And we're going to move on. And our next artist is Callum Martin. And I'll share my screen. This is like a really authentic version of how the world works for me. There we go. And Callum, who gets called something else as well, which I've never got quite to the bottom of. He'll probably explain it afterwards. But I heard something. So Callum describes his practice as multimedia based, which often examines themes of place, identity, memory, and communication. Through initial drawn responses and contextual research, Callum tries to gain an understanding of an idea or theme through the lens of a physical site and vice versa. For the viewer, he wants the resulting work to be exploratory and multi-stranded, often presented as interconnected outcomes between which meaning can be formed. For the duration of the work that's presented on the CAP-oot site, Callum explored the formal and conceptual possibilities of negative space in the sense of absence and how this relates to objects, words, and ideas associated with the site of Holyrood in Edinburgh. And I'll just go through Callum's work. Callum, shall I show both of your films?
I think this one's just fine.
Okay. Thank you, Callum. Callum's going to talk in a minute, so I'm not going to ask him any questions, or in a wee bit, I'm going to talk about Hubcap. So you don't mind if I don't speak to you just now, Callum, do you?
That's fine.
Okay, I'm going to go on to Martine. So Martine's work predominantly relates to nature, specifically natural patterns and structures. She tries to integrate these subjects into her work as much as possible. Her primary media of choice is paint. However, her subject matter and media can vary between realistic landscape paintings, portraiture printing, and drawing, as well as a combined intermedia use. Recently, Martine's work has been a lot more textiles and installation based, with a burgeoning interest in fabric and stitch, which has helped her to explore new techniques and ways of working. And this work's called Days of Daily Do's. I think Martine didn't want to talk, so I just wanted to mention a bit more about, I suppose Martine's work kind of explicitly connects to being in lockdown, and Martine lives in Stirlingshire, so she's quite geographically distant and has been in different, what do you call them? I don't know, stages of lockdown to us in Lothian. But I have to say, Martine, I think that the title Days of Daily Do's is just such a brilliant title for this work. I really loved it. I don't know if I ever said that.
Thank you.
Can I use it? Days of Daily Don'ts. That would be my one. I didn't hear you, so I'll take it as a no. Okay, and now we're going on to Nina. Nina, this is like a funny game for me, like that memory game when you're a kid trying to find names. Nina, there you are. I'm going to start with this image. So, recurring themes in Nina's work revolve around feminism, identity, and mental health, expressing personal topics through the power of creation as a non-binary queer artist. They enjoy working with these subjects alongside their love for portraiture text, collage, and textiles. And that's a little snippet about Nina's work, but I would say that this work that we're looking at just now has really been immersed in the history of quilting as well. So with a very knowing position on the history of quilt making, Nina has come and made this most recent work. Nina, was this the last work that you made? I'm doing it again. I'm asking everyone who said they don't want to talk. I'm asking them if they'll talk. Sorry, Nina.
I was worried about the echo and feedback, but I think it's okay.
Oh, it's totally fine. I can hear you well.
Yes, this was the kind of final piece of resolved piece for the latest project. So yeah, it was the last thing I did for CAP.
It feels like a really fitting place to finish. Do you feel like that? Do you feel quite happy with where you are?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been interested in textiles as well, and I think I didn't do that too much in first year, but when it came to second year, I feel like this piece particularly embodies everything that I'm interested in, and when I look at it, I feel like it just represents me as an artist. So yeah, I'm proud of it, yeah.
Great, thank you. And actually, I think that's us ready to go back to you, Alan. Thanks, Nina.
Okay, thank you, Jenny.
Did we clap Martine?
Oh, I don't know if we did.
We'll just clap again. Maybe clap Callum as well then. I maybe have given up on the clapping. Just get all the clapping in. So awkward. Sorry, folks, about my clapping thing. I need to go and speak to someone about it. Right, we'll come off.
Okay. Now. So, thank you very much, Jenny, and the last three artists that we just spoke to. Moving on now, I have another short video to show you. I shall just find it. And it is a lovely message from Glasgow School of Art, from Elizabeth Beidler at Glasgow School of Art, who has sent us this lovely message, and I shall share that now.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Beidler, and I'm the Progression Manager at the Glasgow School of Art. This means I work with colleges and college students to support articulation to undergraduate programs at GSA. I've been working with Edinburgh College and its H&D Contemporary Art Practice, or CAP, for several years now. This has included visits to the college, student and staff visits to participate in GSA crits, tours of the degree show, and even an afternoon of exhibitions at Glasgow International. These activities have helped encourage a number of students to apply to and ultimately join GSA following their HNDs. particularly in second and third year of our sculpture and environmental art degree. The H&D CAP is a lot like art school, so its students are really well prepared when they come to GSA. The course seems to get even better each year, and this is very much down to the efforts of its tutors, Alan, Jenny, and Colette, who are constantly evolving the course to meet the changing needs of their students. The students I've met over the years have left a big impact and often help me to support new students through the transition work I do. It's been a great pleasure to work with the college, and I'm extremely flattered to have been asked to be here tonight. The student work I've seen so far this year has been phenomenal despite very difficult circumstances. Well done on the show, and best of luck.
So thank you to Elizabeth for that lovely message. And I'd just like to say to Neil that that didn't cost us anything. Didn't have to pay for that. I think she meant it. So thanks very much to Elizabeth. Let me just check my schedule. Okay, now just again briefly before I hand back to Jenny, I'm just going to say a couple of thank yous. I'm going to spread them out rather than do them all at the end. So one of the thank yous I'd like to send out, very heartfelt thank yous to everybody, of course, but I'd really like to thank, and you'll hate me for doing this, David McLaughlin and the Learning Technology team, without whom we just couldn't have managed this year. Their support has been first class, and I genuinely don't know how they have managed it and how they have coped with the level of demands that's been placed on them. But they've done just a wonderful job over the last 18 months, and their professionalism and support in the most trying circumstances has been utterly invaluable. But in particular, I'd like to obviously thank Neil Nodzak and Jen Usin, who have been really there for us this year. So thank you to them, and I'll pass you back to Jenny.
Thanks, Alan. So we're at 9 o'clock, which means we're sort of about to finish, but we've still got our final three artists to speak to and to look at their work, and we're going to finish with Dan, Brooke, and Alice. Okay, it's always hard to go towards the end of an evening, so thank you, folks. Not that you had much choice. Sorry. Okay, right. Let me see. Am I on Nina's work just now if I share that? Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, Nina, I didn't go through your other work. Can I just do that really quickly? Because I've done that for everyone else and I didn't do it for Nina. I just stayed on that quilt. I'm so absolutely enamored by your quilt. And I haven't said this, maybe I did say this actually, but quite often when we come out of, or when I come out of crits with you, I just want to go and make something. And I never do because we're always doing paperwork or something like that. But I'm coming up to summer and maybe I'm hovering over this quilt because I'm like, oh, I've got itchy fingers. I really need to get stitching. But I didn't look at the rest of your work, Nina. So I'm really sorry about that. So I'll just go through that before we go on. Okay, so one of Nina's drawings. Now this is a projection. This is quite difficult to see what's going on here, but it's a photograph of a projection in Nina's then kitchen. I think you're not in that flat anymore.
No, I'm still there.
Oh, are you? Yeah. Sorry, I thought you'd moved on.
I'm not right now. I'm cat sitting for my mum, but
oh, nice.
Yeah, I still live in Edinburgh in my flat there. So yeah.
Oh, okay. And then this is another piece of work from the same series, projections under the sink.
Yeah, they're projections of photoshopped images.
Really ingenious. Another really ingenious response to being an artist working at home. Thanks, Nina, and sorry for not doing that before.
That's okay, thank you.
Did you notice?
No.
Of course you did.
No, I've got you all up on my screen, so I can actually see what you're presenting, so it's okay.
I don't know what I'm doing now. I've gone crazy. Okay, right. Sorry. Okay, so Dan, when I can get back onto the main page, we're going to look at Dan's work. Where are you, Dan? Here we go. I'm going to stay on this. I'm going to look on this image, Dan, and then we'll move on to the details. Okay. So through Dan's figurative work, Through Dan's figurative work, he aims to capture the way the body moves, reflects light, reacts to gravity, or changes shape under physical touch. For the project presented here, entitled Distorted, Dan has explored the theme of dysmorphia, body dysmorphia, with an emphasis on young men's self-critical views of themselves. He believes that the warped reflection that we see in the mirror is driven by unrealistic expectations created by the media, adverts glorifying skinny girls and muscular men, hairless female bodies, and skin photoshopped to look like porcelain that bombard us on a daily basis. The uneasiness experienced by many young people while coming of age and learning to become comfortable in their own bodies is the feeling that he has sought to portray through his work. And I'll just go through. Dan, am I right that what we're going to look at is details of this work? Or are they separate paintings?
It's all details, I believe.
Yeah. Back to the beginning. Thank you, Dan. We're going to do one big clap. And just going to go to Brooke now. So Brooke describes her practice as multidisciplinary and comprising of moving image, photography, writing, performance, and installation. She is interested in themes relating to identity and often draws from both the personal and collective experience in order to highlight issues around labour, feminism, class, and well-being. Brooke's immediate environment informs the creative process and documentation sits at the heart of her work, acting as a springboard for developing ideas. Much of Brooke's work stems from an interest in behaviour as she questions why, how, I, they, you, act, exist in whichever way, unpicking information and making assumptions in order to subvert meaning. Throughout Brooke's time on the course, Brooke sees her practice as having developed greatly and that the course has given her the freedom to explore hidden interests that upon reflection were in plain sight. And I'll just go through some more of Brooke's images. Just going to come out of this and we're going to watch a wee bit of Brooke's film. Brooke, do you want to watch some of your film? It's right there.
Yeah, that's fine. A wee bit. It's quite long, so just a wee snippet.
Okay. I'm just going to pause there because we've not got enough time to watch it all. I was really in the zone there, though. I don't know if anybody else really felt like that. I would quite happily have stayed with the maintenance. Let me go a bit more. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you. Okay, so we are now at our final CAP student of the evening, and what's the expression again? Last but by no means least, we've got Alice Snowden. And Alice, I am going to find you and then we'll get started. So I'm going to just hover on this GIF while I talk about Alice's work, and then up there. Alice, do you want the black background or the white background?
Either one's fine, to be honest.
But did you see what happened when I went into full screen? Is that meant to happen?
I have no idea, to be honest.
Oh, okay, let's just go full screen. Let's go with it.
Yeah.
I think I like it better on the white, but we'll leave it there. Okay. So Alice describes herself as an experimental artist who continually varies her use of media. She uses variety to generate new points of inquiry and avenues for her work, often exploring expressive or abstract visuals to create emotive pieces with a definite atmosphere. Alice's themes are fluid, informed by extensive research, and she is interested in the idea that society is shaped by the things we create and do. Alice usually follows themes of social inquiry, historical interest, personal or political, often choosing subjects that she is unfamiliar with, exploring her ideas creatively as a way to process research and deepen understanding. For her most recent project, Alice explored the theme of skin and wanted to create work which spoke of skin in visually abstracted ways and to create beauty out of shapes and textures that may be seen as undesirable. Through this process, Alice created a varied body of work exploring different aspects of the skin, visually and conceptually, creating some uncanny, unsettling, but satisfying works. Through Alice's time on CAP, she has taken a more fluid approach to her work and has discovered a love for digital processes, increased her confidence creating, talking about, and displaying work. And if I just come out of this, I'm going to go into visualization of a digital.
You will get wrinkled. Be afraid of us. Anticipate it. Let it rule your youth. Prevent it. Pull it back. Suck it in.
I'm just going to pause it there at the sucking it in, but you know where to go to watch the rest of the film. Thank you, Alice. And thank you, everyone. I'm going to hand back over to Alan. Stop sharing.
Thank you, Jenny. And thank you to all the wonderful exhibitors. It's been an absolute, I've seen all the work before, but it's been an absolute pleasure to sit and watch it in a kind of more removed manner and to hear Jenny reading out those things and the little bits you've had to say. So thank you. It's been a real pleasure. We do have a few other bits and pieces to do. I think we are going to break our current record, however, or sorry, we're not going to break our current record, you'll be pleased to know. Last year's event was nearly 3 hours, and I'm pretty confident we can get it to under 2.5 this year. So please bear with us while we do our last few bits and pieces. Starting with our final thank yous for the evening, but we also have another video to show you, and a little bit of Q&A after that, but and a kind of surprise intervention into the evening schedule that only Jenny, Colette and I know about. So our final thank yous for the evening are to the wonderful team of learning assistants who support the delivery of all the courses in art and design, but have certainly supported us throughout the year. Rosie Curry, Pav Giorgio, Jill Russell, Matt Wilson, for all their help across all the courses that are delivered in the art and design team. But a special thanks, I think, are absolutely warranted to Samantha Dick and Natalie Doyle for their help in putting so many things together for us this year, for helping us with some with Natalie Doyle with the Photoshop and video assistance. Samantha is also supporting Hubcap and the video that we're about to show from Hubcap. So thank you specifically to Dick and Doyle, who I think are definitely due their own buddy cop show. It's just kind of made for it, isn't it? Dick and Doyle. So moving on to our surprise intervention before we go on to Hubcap, I'm going to hand over to Colette.
I have the pleasure of announcing this year's prize winner. I've truly missed engaging with Art Talk this year and speaking to you all, but I have been looking and sort of watching in the background, seeing what's going on, and it's been lovely to see what's been going on tonight. So yeah, I've been asked to give tonight's prize giving. I don't have anything physical to hand over, but there
will be a virtual handover at some point.
Okay, very good.
Assured by Neil.
The prize this year is for studentship, and this person was deemed particularly worthy because of their commitment to their work, their determination and perseverance demonstrated in their work, but also in their character. It's so inherent in their character, and that's what really comes through in the work as well. So her incredible hard work has resulted in a breadth of skills and culminated in a refined body of work for her diploma show. So this year's prize winner is Alice Snowden.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Oh, it means so much.
Well done.
Congratulations, Alice. thoroughly deserved. You've absolutely given it your all this year. Everybody has given it so much this year, but your studentship and dedication and determination in every project to give it your absolute all has really come through. So congratulations and well done.
I just also say that Alice is working on a documentary, so we're really looking forward to that, Alice, when you've finished your edit. All right.
Yeah, I'll let you know about when it's done.
Thanks.
But talking of in jokes, I hope that you've noticed that the panda has made a kind of slight appearance in between the foliage.
I don't know if you can see it very well.
Kind of it's peeking out there for you, Jenny.
Oh, I wonder if Nat's listening. Nat.
Yeah, she is.
Oh, sorry, Nat, about the panda stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so just before we move on, actually, I've got a very quick quote I want to use. I came across this. One or two people will fall off their chair when I say, I read something the other day that made me think about the course this year and what the artists have done, what we've been through, and how Jenny and I have tried to develop the course and over all the years, but particularly in recent years with the recent developments. So this was something that Tony Godfrey said in his book, Story of Contemporary Art, published in 2019. Contemporary art, despite its name, is not just art made now. Rather, it is a certain type or types of art, as well as attitudes towards it. One of the things that make contemporary art so exciting is that it is often about the pressing issues of the day: identity, environmental disaster, and virtual life. And I think that it's a really nice kind of quote that kind of exemplifies what this course is about, what the artists are about, and what you've been engaging in over the last year, and kind of you've reflected the time that you're in. And I think that's incredibly important, and something to bear in mind as you go forward. So, lastly, a short video to show you about Hubcap. Hubcap is our gallery space, both in college and now virtual, which is led by a group or committee of current CAP artists from first and second year. It was launched in 2019, and we have a short video to introduce Hubcap, or to cover the first kind of 18 months of its existence, and a very short Q&A after it, and then we'll be finishing up. So I'm going to share this screen with you and play the video.
Hey guys, guess where I am? Out of focus. Out of focus. Hubcap. The gallery is still here and it's open. Ready. I'll go first. Yeah, Hubcap's been amazing in that sense. I think we've all learned so much. I think that for me, the most important thing for me has been learning how to share responsibility with other people, which is something I guess I've not really done much of. I'm quite an independent worker, so
it's been challenging for me, but really interesting and really amazing to be like learning and working with my peers. And I guess I've also learned just how much work goes into something like this and any sort of artist-run spaces, and that sort of prepared me for thinking about going forward and doing my own thing or joining other sort of committees. Yeah, it's no sort of light task. I don't think. I think everyone would agree.
I've learned a lot more, like from other people, which has been really, really good. And I think it's definitely put me outside my comfort zone. Like when we done the Instagram takeovers and we would do the Q&As at the end of the week, I wouldn't have the confidence to interview somebody one-on-one, never mind go live on social media. So yeah, no, I've loved it. It's been a really, good confidence booster.
My favorite of last year was probably the reread bar, just because, I was worried for like the week before, like how many people would turn up, because I think we're pretty low from like with a week to go, and I don't know, I think we just had like a push for messaging people like individually, trying to get them and all their friends to come. So yeah, it turned out pretty well. Also, it felt like an event that I would never really have put on. I don't know, music doesn't seem like that's my area, or like, I don't know, putting on gigs. I didn't think that that's something that we'd be doing with Hubcap either.
It's been nice to experience online events and trying to stay like active within the art community and art world.
Another thing is that I think I've learned that artists don't bite. And then people that would be absolutely intimidating to go talk to at degree shows are really nice and approachable human beings that are happy to talk about their art. So yeah, I think that's what I've learned.
Like moving online also helped with something like social media wasn't something we were that good at making use of before lockdown happened, but then we had to use it. So it's widened our audience quite a bit.
What you said, Vera, about artists not biting, like that sort of the online world sort of weirdly sort of breaks down that barrier between contacting people because everyone's doing it and it's just the norm now. So yeah, it's been interesting working online, definitely. It's been really nice to sort of learn new skills and learn that way of working. But yeah, it's been challenging as well.
I guess for me, like the benefit of like using Afrofuturism within that and looking at the past is this idea of like not having an importance on linear time, or like certain kind of like the way time kind of moves as well, and having complete openness with that, I think is really, really nice. And then for Drexia, I guess like that idea kind of like made me really question a lot of like this idea of an underwater world that inhabits Black people and coming from such a sad place, but kind of being empowering in a way of thinking about these communities that could maybe exist under the water and kind of flipping it on its head.
For me, what a standout for me was Natasha Rawona's work, which was Hubcap's first ever commissioned work, which was really exciting. I think that for me was just really interesting, being able to go through all of Natasha's research and learn lots of all these new things and like terms that I hadn't heard of, and just that like educational side for me. And like, but you get that from every artist, it's like you can compare it to your own work, and we're all practicing artists here, so it's really amazing to be inspired in that way. But yeah, everyone's engagement and involvement has been amazing. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you to the Hubcap committee and committees of the last 18 months for the incredible work that you have all done in that time, and particularly for the way that you adapted to an online experience, which I think that we'd all agree that we all benefited from in terms of the Instagram takeovers and the discussions that you had with the artists at the end of those. Maybe I could ask some of the current committee to unmute and maybe just say a little bit more about the experience they've had. Brooke, I'm going to pick on you because you're laughing, and Brooke's with, sorry, and Tammy's with you. So that means both of you are in the spotlight.
Aye, she's put us both in the mud.
Oh, I'm just sitting here.
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, we've got a question.
My question is, how beneficial do you think your experience of Hubcap has been to your experience on CAP and your transition into what's happening next?
Yeah, I just think absolutely beneficial. You don't really get the opportunity to engage with that sort of professional practice at uni, let alone a further education college. I think it's a really unique experience that we've all been given. And I've learned, even working with arts organisations previously, I've learned much more doing Hubcap and like doing things for myself and doing things for ourselves. Yeah, it's been invaluable. And yeah, thank you for organising it and for fighting for it for so long, Alan, and for guiding us and being our mentor, because we'd have been absolutely lost without you. So thank you for that. That's, yeah.
Thank you, but thank you for all the support that you've given me, and Jenny and Colette have given the project as well, and other colleagues, of course.
Yeah, of course. Everyone, it's been a really collaborative thing, which I think has been the main thing, and a cherished thing. So yeah, thanks a lot to everyone. We've all done well.
Thanks, Bruce. Stuart.
Hi.
What's been the best bit of Hubcap for you?
That's quite a difficult question. I know it's probably like an obvious, well, no, I don't know if it's obvious answer, but I have to say the whole thing. I think from the day we had the meeting at ESW to try and pick a name, and we were brainstorming, to right now where we've just, for users, all the viewers, we've just finally, after 18 months, done our website. So yeah, so that's up and running. Yeah, just the whole thing of like engaging with new people and yeah, just working with different artists. And yeah, I think the whole thing has been an extremely beneficial, and yeah, it's been a brilliant 2 years combined with the course. So any future students or anybody out there, apply, because it's very good.
Thank you for that. Yeah, world's longest 2.5-hour advert. Callum, can I ask you what obviously you've got Brooke, Stuart are handing over to the next committee, and it's lovely to see Tammy here, who's one of our first year committee members. Callum, what do you hope the future holds for Hubcap?
Well, yeah, I was going to say that I'm really excited to see like what it might become with like future committees, but I think it's important that it kind of changes as it goes. So like the people that are on the committees change it as they take it on, and not to be like too daunted by the one before it. And not that anyone should be daunted by what we've done, but yeah, I think like if you're new to it, in particular as a CAP 1, just to treat it as your own project.
Thanks, Carl. Brooke, you had your hand up again, I think. Did you want to come back and say something?
No, I didn't have my hand up.
Okay.
So just punch in the air.
Punch in the air. Okay. Well, obviously, I want to thank all the outgoing committee, all the previous committee, and the new committee as they come through. I think that I think we all feel really proud of what Hubcap's achieved in its first 18 months, both in the building and out of the building. So congratulations and well done. And I also want to have a special word for all our CAP-1 students who've had an equally interesting time this year. We shouldn't forget what those students of their entire experience of CAP has been online, and I haven't met any of our CAP-1 students in the flesh this year. Unfortunately, Jenny very luckily was able to go on a gallery trip, but due to the vaccination concerns at this end, I wasn't able to do that. So, not that I think that you're all infectious, well, they're all infectious, particularly apart from their enthusiasm for CAP, of course. Okay, Jenny, would you like to say anything else before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. I think it's everything's been said. So yeah.
I think that we all collectively just wanted to unmute ourselves and say a big, huge thank you to Jenny, Alan, and Colette for all their hard work in and out of college. And yeah, we just wanted to all say thank you. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
And we'll definitely be touching each other soon.
Yeah. Okay, moving quickly on. Thanks very much, Brooke, and thank you to everybody. It has been a pleasure and a pain at times. But the overwhelming emotion from my perspective, and I'm sure Colette's and Jenny's, has been pleasure. And there should always be some pain in there as well, because that way we know that we're alive. So congratulations and well done to everybody. We look forward to seeing what happens next, and we are all part of that CAP community, that future community. You'll all be invited into the CAP community Facebook page if you're not already there, and it'll be wonderful to see how things progress from here. Okay, so I'm going to say an enormous thank you and a goodbye to all our audience on YouTube. We hope that you've enjoyed tonight. Obviously, with it being a live event, things have gone on a little bit longer. And I know that most places like to do pre-recorded and like to stick to times, but you know, CAP, we like to do things a little bit differently and take out maybe a few more risks and have a bit more fun. So we really hope that you've enjoyed it, and goodbye, and hopefully we'll see you in person at our next CAP graduation event. Okay, thank you.